Hello, I'm Stewart and I'm out and about at the airport. Just going to take a break into our West Highland Way adventures to take my family on their annual vacation. But we don't do the usual kind of bucket and spade holidays. No, I'd love to lie next to a beach for 2 weeks, but we are going on the ultimate West Coast USA road trip. Don't know if I can fly over the top of me. Let's try that again. We are going to be doing an epic road trip, 2,000 miles. We're going to drive down to London, we're going to get a plane to San Francisco, we're going to go and see Alcatraz, the Golden Gate Bridge, drive down to Pebble Beach, drive down to Los Angeles, do some theme parks like Disneyland, Universal, Six Flags, drive out to Las Vegas, go and see the Hoover Dam. It's going to be absolutely epic. It's going to be 2,000 miles. Welcome to our West Coast USA road trip. Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday.
Day 1. Our first destination is Heathrow Airport in London, but you might notice we're driving 400 miles to get there. For the past 10 years we've flown with British Airways, but unfortunately for the last 3 years they've decided to be terrible as an airline. They've cancelled our flights, they've put us in standby, and they've repeatedly lost our luggage. So no more, I've had enough. This year we're flying with Virgin Atlantic, and to save the hassle of connecting flights, we're not having any connecting flights. We're driving all the way to Heathrow and taking a direct flight. As we cross the border into England, note the actual border is this bridge over the River Sark, and not the sign 100 metres down the road. And don't worry about Aurora, she's been left in good hands. If you're wondering what those words mean underneath each location, it's a mapping website What 3 Words. Simply type those 3 words into the website and it will take you to that location to a 3 metre accuracy. Day 2. After a great overnight stay at the Premier Inn in Solihull near Birmingham, we dropped the car off at Purple Parking and made our way to Heathrow Terminal 3. Also a note about filming, since this is a family holiday, I'm not doing the whole YouTuber thing. I don't have a microphone or my gimbals with me, it's just me, my arms and a phone. I also cut back in speaking directly to the camera because I didn't want to be a pest to other people on their holiday. So much of what you'll see is me just filming with my phone and me doing the voiceover afterwards in post-production. Our plane today is Lady Freedom, a Boeing 787-9, and our destination is San Francisco.
I know you have specific seasons and stuff. Not to watch. Also, it doesn't. I've seen it, but it wasn't bad. Oh wait. Yo, look at that. Ew. That wind-up's crazy. I can hear your fellow. I can hear your fellow. Go. That wind-up's crazy. Just 15. Look. Just sneezed your headset. Oh my god. Informing in an orderly queue.
After an excellent flight with Virgin, 11 hours later we landed on runway 28 right. Got off the plane, breeze going through customs, and went to the car hire place, picked up a very nice Chrysler Pacifica, and straight out onto State Roads 101. As we had the car, we wanted to stay outside of downtown San Francisco just because the parking fees are mainly extortionate. So we stayed across the Bay Bridge in Oakland at a beach community called Alameda. The Bay Bridge is $8 toll, city bound, but free to drive towards Oakland. All of the bridges are tolls and they all charge when driving towards San Francisco. Day 3. This was a Saturday, so we parked the car for free at Fruitvale and we got the BART subway into the city centre. BART stands for Bay Area Rapid Transport and it's a kind of underground system. The main station in the city is Market Street. From there we took the local tram called the Mooney up to Pier 33. At Pier 33 we boarded the ferry bound for the Rock, Alcatraz. It was always our intention to start big on the first day and do something we hoped the boys would enjoy, especially after such a long journey. We pre-booked the ferry and they can sell out, so I do recommend you book in advance. We were on the 9:20 AM ferry and you don't have to book the return. We stayed on the Rock until 1:30, so a really good more than half a day. Alcatraz is owned by the federal government and run by the National Park Service. The only way to get to the Rock is by city cruises, and the ferry and admission costs $48 each. That includes the audio tour, which we didn't bother with. What you do is you walk about with headphones on listening to somebody talk. We just walked around the Rock without it and we still found it fascinating. City cruises also try to plus sell things like tours of the Bay, Angel Island, food and drink packages. We didn't bother for any of those and we still had a great time. But Alcatraz wasn't what I expected. I expected a nice trip out on a boat and a walk around the island and look at a ruined jail and enjoy nice views of San Francisco from the island. What we got was a nice trip in a boat. The views, well, fog allowing. Fantastic views of the Golden Gate Bridge. But the realisation that Alcatraz isn't a rock. It's not a prison. Alcatraz is a story about people. When we first got to the island, the first thing we were hit with was evidence of a protest by Native Americans in 1969 when they occupied the vacated island for 2 years before being forcibly removed. Instead of hiding and painting over the occupation, it's celebrated and held up as a mirror to previous and current US governments to highlight and educate about the treatment of their own citizens. Alcatraz was named by the Spanish. It's believed to be a mistranslation of Island of the Pelicans. The island started as a lighthouse station before being taken over by the US military in 1850 and built as Fort Alcatraz, where it served as one of many coastal batteries protecting San Francisco Bay. Its guns were never fired in anger. The island still features many of the military features such as buildings for the officers, their families, gardens, the parade ground. Due to its location in the bay, the barracks were more and more used as a detention facility for military prisoners and conscientious objectors. Starting in 1909, the barracks were eventually demolished and replaced with a cell block. In 1933, it officially became a federal jail operated by the Bureau of Prisons. Former inmates include Al Capone, Robert Stroud, also known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, Machine Gun Kelly, not the modern day singer, and political prisoners. Despite the claim that nobody ever escaped, there were 36 escape attempts, of which 23 were caught, 6 were shot, 2 drowned, and 5 made it off the island but were never seen again, presumed drowned. Alcatraz also speaks about the inmates. It doesn't speak about the crimes or the victims, but of the prison system and what it was like for the inmates, the guards, and the families of the guards who also stayed on the island. There's also a significant section about the causes of crime and the futility of incarceration, the effectiveness or lack of rehabilitation, and how the prison system doesn't work. It's a thought-provoking anti-prison prison. We chose to do Alcatraz on the first day because we wanted a big ticket item to reward the boys for the long journey. My boys loved the island, and the main reason for this was Call of Duty. Part of parenting is to communicate with my sons on their terms, and for that I use the game Call of Duty, or COD as they call it. I take an interest in their interests, and as a result we spent many hours playing the game together.
All stations, this is Shadow 01. Deployment to the war zone has been authorised.
So this is Warzone didn't do it very accurate, besides tents. That's like kind of the only problem it was.
Where did we dock?
One of the COD maps is Rebirth Island. It may look familiar. It was incredibly strange walking around Alcatraz as I already knew every detail of the island due to the game. Every building, pathway, rock face accurately modelled. We spent time recreating scenes from the game. We traded stories of our experiences. Here is where we got a victory. There was where the sniper on the prison roof got me. Remember those losers camping in the control centre?
Not done yet.
No more second chances. Hostile UAV.
Changing mags.
Primary objective complete. Good work.
One thing that Alcatraz failed to deliver was the famous view of the Golden Gate Bridge. Although this wasn't the fault of the island, it was all due to Carl. The locals have named the fog Carl with a K, and we saw quite a lot of Carl in San Francisco. I got fed up seeing Carl. You also hear the wind in my footage. Parts of the island are incredibly windy. I'm a hardy Scotsman, and even I wish I was wearing a hoodie or a long sleeve top. Turns out shorts and t-shirt in June in San Francisco, that was a bold choice. After only 30 years of operation, the facility closed in 1963. The building was crumbling into the sea. Prisoners could be held more safely and cheaply in the new Supermax prisons being built. The abandoned island became a haven for birds, flora and fauna, nature reclaiming the island as its own. Back on the mainland, we had some lunch and walked up to Pier 39, which is also known as Fishermans Wharf. It's the original gentrification project, turning an old industrial area into tourist shops and restaurants. I'm sure people love it, but it's just not our thing. We found we got a better and quieter view of the famous sea lions from the adjacent Pier 41. We then hopped on the Mooney tram from Pier 39 down Embarcadero to the ferry building in Market Street. For the tram, I downloaded the Mooney app on my phone and purchased a 3-day ticket at $14 each. This covered us for the tram, the cable car, and local buses while on the San Francisco Peninsula, but not across the water in Oakland. I also found the Mooney to be terrific value for money for getting around, and as we're about to find out, the cable cars are $8 per ride per person alone. The Mooney app gives unlimited rides. The San Francisco cable car system is 3 historic lines operated just as they were in 1873. By 1880 there were 23 cable car lines, but now only 3 remain. The Powell-Hyde line runs from Hyde Street Pier to the junction of Market Street and Powell Street. The Powell-Mason line runs from Taylor Street near Pier 39 to Market Street and Powell Street. Finally, the California Street line runs up and down California Street. The 2 Powell lines connect tourist areas to tourist areas, basically Fishermans Wharf to Market Street, and as a result, sometimes the queue for the cable car can be as long as 2 hours long. However, the California Street line runs along California Street, starting at Market Street and Embarcadero. This line is much quieter, and so it's worth a trip on the F-line Mooney just to escape the tourist area and ride the Californian. A cable car, as its name suggests, is an unpowered vehicle. It moves by the operator pulling a lever, known as a grip, to grab onto a cable located underneath the ground.
The problem is how you stop it here. Because it can go so fast you can't stop it.
That's the fun part.
I don't know about that.
The cable is powered at a central powerhouse. The operator of the grip is also called a grip. The other operator on board is the conductor. There's 2 reasons the cable cars survives to this day. Firstly, the hills are still quite difficult for trams and buses to get up, but they're not a problem for a cable car. The second reason is tourists. Pretty much no locals use the system to commute, it's almost all tourists. And while it's fun to hang out, caution's required. They do after all operate on live streets with cars overtaken, and they won't stop if you fall off. Apart from the terminus at either end, getting on and off the cable cars also needs a bit of awareness, as it tends to be in the middle of a junction in the middle of the road. And I mean in the middle of the road. The one thing the California line has that the others don't is a double-ended car with a grip at each end. This means the cars can travel in both directions. One of the tourist attractions on the other line is watching the 2 operators getting out and having to turn the cars around on a turntable at the end of the line. Travelling by cable car, highly recommended, but please buy the Mooney Pass.
Leave it to the bride to grip.
Day 4. The plan was to drive about the bay the long way to the Golden Gate Bridge. On the way out of Alameda, we stopped by the former naval air station, Alameda, where USS Hornet is now retired. Hornet is an Essex-class aircraft carrier built during the Second World War, and it served in the Pacific Fleet during the Second World War and the Vietnam War. The Hornet also recovered the Apollo 11 capsule when it splashed down in the Pacific, containing Armstrong, Aldrin and Collins returning from the first moon landing. After driving past San Quentin, we arrived at the Golden Gate National Recreation Area and parked the car for free at the viewpoint overlooking Kirby Beach. This was a Sunday morning and it was busy. We needed to walk a small distance to reach the best viewpoint. There is toilets there, but they're disgusting. The recreation area is absolutely stunning. It's a former military base, so it's not been developed. And I wish we allowed more time to explore the area and go hiking. I just didn't know beforehand. And as you can see, or can't see, Carl the Fog wasn't too accommodating, so the picture postcard view of the bridge with San Francisco behind wasn't available, but what we could see was still breathtaking. The best viewpoint of the bridge is from Battery Spencer. Battery Spencer was part of Fort Baker and was built before the First World War, but was heavily expanded during the Second World War, where San Francisco found itself potentially on the front line of a Pacific War. The battery initially contained anti-ship guns, and their holding down bolts are still visible on the ground, along with ammo bunkers and support buildings spread across the site. Weirdly, the arrangement reminded me of the Khyber Pass back in Scotland near the start of the West Highland Way, where there were similar guns set up to protect Clydebank during the Second World War blitzes. During the 1960s, the California coast found itself on a different front line, the Cold War. The anti-ship guns were decommissioned during the Second World War, their usefulness surpassed by the aircraft carrier, but anti-aircraft guns remained. These were replaced in the 60s with anti-aircraft Nike missiles nearby at Rodeo Beach. The Barry Baker Tunnel is the best way to reach Battery Spencer in the Marin Headlands. This was originally built by the Army to connect the two former forts, Barry and Baker. It's a two-way, one-way tunnel, and traffic lights change direction every 5 minutes. It's called the longest stoplight in America, and it's also known as the 5-minute tunnel. This took us down to Rodeo Beach, where again there were former Army facilities, plenty of parking and trails leading off to the headlands where the Nike missiles used to sit. We finally got to see some Californian surfers, and this is where I had my first ever contact with the Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean's warm, right? It was actually okay once you were in. Next, it was time to drive back into San Francisco, and there was only one way to do it, the Golden Gate Bridge itself. And I'm sure it's quite impressive without the fog as well. After driving over the bridge, we stopped at the Presidio, which is again another former army facility. It's now been repurposed as a business park in a way. Here we went and saw the headquarters of Lucasfilm and a certain famous character. Then we made our way up Lombard Street, avoiding the Waymo self-driving cars which are ubiquitous. Lombard Street is the main thoroughfare through San Francisco, US Route 101, until it meets Van Ness Avenue, where the 101 takes a detour because a hill gets in the way. However, Lombard Street continues up and over what's called Russian Hill. On the other side of the hill, that's where it gets a little interesting. For a one-block section, Lombard Street has 8 hairpin turns winding down the hill at 27% grade, and it's called the crookedest street in the world.
Here we go.
No, she's going to stop me.
No. Go. Cybertruck.
Right, we ready?
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is like a roller coaster. Oh my god. Oh, wait for the camera. They were taking a picture. I just realized. Oh, I thought this was gonna be faster. Some guy in NASCAR could do this in like 2 seconds. Oh. Alright, thanks, pal. Gee. People that live here can't even get out of their own house. Well, if I there's another, like the exact same car is in front of us and is doing this as well. Imagine. Yeah, imagine you do actually live here. This would be painful to go up and down every morning.
So there's a parked car.
Yep. Oh, we nearly made it. One more right turn. Oh, I think there's a left turn after. Yeah. Like per delivery drivers.
Telling you to go left, I think. Just go left. Go left, go left, go, go.
You have to stop.
Yeah. See over there, can you just park there? Behind the white car?
Oh, I don't want to walk up that.
Yeah. That was cool.
What's that?
We once again took to the streets of San Francisco, and this time headed to Alamo Square Park. This is famous for its housing bordering the park, known as the Painted Ladies. This view is often used as an establishing shot for films set in San Francisco, such as So I Married an Axe Murderer and Mrs. Doubtfire. We also joined some local lads for a game of football tennis. Last stop of the day was a visit to another film location, Mrs. Doubtfire's house, and then back to where we were staying. Alameda was a lovely community with a beach vibe. I commented that it felt very much like Bournemouth, a holiday town in the south coast of England that we often visit. Because we only needed somewhere to sleep and we were planning on being out and about most of the time, we decided to stay in a cheap motel. In hindsight, we chose poorly. It was neither that cheap nor particularly nice. We would perhaps stay in Alameda again, but not at the Coral Reef Motel. Day 5. Our initial plan was to get the ferry across the bay to San Francisco. However, after adding up the costs for the 5 of us, we realised it would be way more cost effective to drive across the Oakland Bay Bridge, park in the suburbs at Balboa Park, and use our already purchased Mooney passes to ride the excellent and efficient tram into the city. We then, once again, took the California Street cable car from Market Street up the hill, but this time we got off at California and Grant in the heart of Chinatown.
Next stop, Chinatown.
We've been to Chinatown in New York. This was on a totally different scale. Only thing better than the shopping was the food. We loved browsing in the shops. The boys bought some of their, Pokemon things. Beats me. And we got some souvenirs and then had some lunch and some dim sum at the corner of California and Grant. We then took the Mooney back down to downtown. And this is going to be one of my observations or criticisms of San Francisco. Downtown is deserted. It seems that COVID and working from home has taken its toll, and the people and businesses and shops haven't returned to the city. Many of the shop units were vacant. However, it does seem that San Francisco has been recently trying to clean up downtown. It was spotless. And that brings us to Salesforce Park. It's an urban oasis built on the roof of an empty shopping centre and bus station. It's peaceful and tranquil. A green carpet stretching between the towers of glass. It's highly recommended for a stop-off or a picnic. The one thing I couldn't help but think, we're surrounded by a lot of glass here, and it wouldn't be pretty if an earthquake struck. Actually, for the whole duration of our holiday we didn't feel a single tremor. What a disappointment. On the Mooney, on the way back to the car, we made one more stop off in the suburb of Dolores Heights. St Paul's Church was used for the exterior shots in the Whoopi Goldberg film Sister Act. We love a film location. Day 6. And that concludes our visit to San Francisco. We love the city. It's a different vibe to the other US cities we've been in. It's very touristy but also very laid back. And it feels quite European in some places. If we were to come back, it would be without the boys, and we'd stay in maybe the city centre without the car at first, and then only stay for 2 or 3 days. I think 4 days is the number if you've got a car and you can spread further afield. However, it felt like we covered all the greatest hits, but we only scratched the surface of some parts, especially the bars, restaurants and nightlife. In the next video, we'll be driving down the Pacific Coast Highway to the home of vampires and surfing, Santa Cruz, then onto the beautiful Monterey Peninsula, including Pebble Beach, and then driving down US 101 to Los Angeles. Thanks for watching.